What's up, everyone? Very happy for this opportunity to bring to you an extension of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora called Tea with Rex. I'm the T for Tortora, and the Rex is Rex Culpepper. Of course, it's a play off of T-Rex, which is one of the most lethal and successful predators of our time, right? Someone who knew how to get after what they wanted in life. So you got the play off of T-Rex, and then you have Tea with Rex. So it's a wake-up call extension, this show called Tea with Rex, and I'm very excited to be doing it. And it means a lot to me to have Rex Culpepper joining us, and is definitely going to be a great experience and a great show to do with someone that I consider a friend, someone I appreciate, and definitely am looking forward to have every other Tuesday. So for those of you that know Reese's Pieces, which is another extension of Wake Up Call, Reese's Pieces with Tammy Reese is every other Monday. So the week where you see Tammy on a Monday, right after Wake Up Call airs live on our main show from 9 to 11, when you see Tammy on Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, that tells you that's Tammy's week. The following week is Rex, Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. after Wake Up Call. And then it goes back to Tammy, back to Rex. So whatever week Tammy is on, Rex is not, and vice versa. So it'll be Tammy every other Monday for Reese's Pieces, and Rex every other Tuesday for Tea with Rex at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And we definitely look forward to bringing this to you. I'm very happy to have Rex Culpepper joining me on the broadcast every Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll talk about a little bit of everything. We'll talk about sports, his time at Syracuse, HB Plant, what he's up to now, his family, and, we'll talk about adversity. We had adversity this morning with technical difficulties. So we'll talk about a little bit of everything, and there'll always be something for us to bring up here on the show. It could be something that somebody writes into us and asks us to talk about. It could be something in Rex's life, something in my life, something in our joint lives together, or something going on in the world. Again, could be sports, could be literally anything. So I'm very happy to have Tea with Rex every Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, an extension of Wake Up Call. And you can see that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here, the new logo with the sun rising out of the coffee cup, not only bringing it to life with my guy, John Granquist, but to be able to bring these products to life that will be on sale very soon, coming to you from Mark Products in Syracuse, New York, right off of Court Street in Syracuse. So a big shout out to Mark Products for the tremendous work that they did with the Wake Up Call apparel, as well as Dan Tortora Broadcast Media apparel, Dan on Disney apparel, and everything else they're working on for us. I appreciate it so very much. So we're looking to bring Rex on here for Tea with Rex this morning, and I very, very much am honored and privileged to have Rex do this special showcase. I didn't want to just have him on the show every once in a while. I wanted to do something special that involved Rex being a focal point. So Tea with Rex, like I said, a broadcast that will have him and I picture in picture here on Facebook Live every other Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. And Rex and I will be talking about a little bit of everything. So that's what's going on right now as we look to have Rex come back in to the queue here so we could get him on the show and have him join us for our inaugural broadcast of Tea with Rex. So very excited for this opportunity, and so very much looking forward to having Rex here with us so that we could talk about a little bit of everything and really bring some stuff home. There's a lot of things to get to and a lot of things to unpack. Life happens all the time, and you never know what life is going to bring you. And so Rex and I are here for that. For those of you that heard his extended story, you got to hear that on my show. And we're now bringing Rex in for our inaugural episode of Tea with Rex, where he will be joining us live from the second home of WakeUp, which is the great state of Florida, as we bring Rex to our broadcast. There he is. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right, perfect. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
That's all right. So you cut the long dreads, though, don't you?
No, no, sir. I didn't cut the hair. I just have it up out of the
got
way.
it up. Oh, okay. You had me nervous. I took it from being up. I thought you cut it off.
No, sir. Just got the man bun working since that's probably what's in these days.
Yeah. So tell me about the man bun. You're going to make me a fan of it if anybody does, because I haven't been a fan.
Well, I really just didn't cut my hair when it started growing back fully. So what happened was my hair started growing back in the middle. So naturally, I just had a mohawk when I first got out of chemotherapy. But once my hair really started growing in, I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to cut it because it kind of signifies how far I've come physically and like what I've gone, like how far away I've gone from the kind of low point in my life that was. So it kind of represents to me just like how long it's been, how far we've come, but there's still a long way to go. So.
Yeah, you know, and
Yes,
you've been through so much, and you've seen so much. You had to cut your hair when you went through cancer treatment. So was that kind of a thing to you that, like, because you had to cut it, and you don't want to cut it anymore?
I didn't even have to cut it. I actually remember I did buzz it because I knew it was going to come out. But in the back of my head, I thought, like, everyone else loses their hair, but, like, I'm young and, like, strong, so my hair will probably stick around. And I remember, I'll probably never forget, I was sitting in an accounting class, and we had an exam that day. So I was kind of hunched over my test like this, looking down, and I was rubbing my head, kind of working on an answer, and literally a shower of little buzz cut hairs just fell down on my paper, and I was like, oh, wow, like, this is happening. So I finished the test, and I actually called Brittany, who's like the head of academics. I said, Brittany, you got to pick me up from class. Like, my hair's falling out. I don't want to wait for the bus. Like, this is crazy. Like, so I got in the shower, and I literally went like this over my head with my hand, and my whole hand was covered in hair. And that's when I could go on my arms and just swipe all my hair off. So I got a free Brazilian wax out of all the chemotherapy.
You know, and so, you know, going through that, is that the thing now that, like, because you went through and kind of had that moment, that now you're just going to keep growing? And I mean, we saw it coming on the helmet this season.
Well, I mean, I ultimately want to be a lawyer, so it's not going to be able to last forever. I'll probably have to go and be a clean crew cut guy. But for now, while I'm young, I'm going to be applying to law school soon. I'm actually getting my LSAT results tomorrow. But while I can have long hair, I'm probably just going to have fun and let it rock, because this is probably a unique time in my life where I can have long hair. So that's kind of the situation.
What has the long hair done for you? I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks do it at Syracuse. One of my good buddies, Austin Wilson, rocked it for a while. So what have the California locks done for you?
I feel like the long hair flowing out the back of your helmet makes you look a little bit more athletic. So, you know, people said I was a little more loose, maybe like I had stretched, but it's really just the long hair. Kind of adds some flow to when you're running too, like doing all the conditioning and bouncing around makes you look like you're really loose out there. So, but I mean, it's not magical. It's just kind of I don't even think about it anymore. It's just kind of there.
And you got the strap that I used to have. I used to run that all the way before the game.
Yeah, my mom would probably make me shave this if she sees this at broadcast. But I've been a kind of a hermit lately. I've just been on a routine of working out and studying for the LSAT. So I've been busy playing mind games with myself and going through 3 different textbooks to pass LSAT tests to make sure I was ready. So I kind of got the little caveman quarantine study mode hair going.
So that coming to us from Rex Culpepper, Tea with Rex. The tea is here, the Rex is there, and So, Rex, what are you hoping for this to be? I mean, you've been on the show plenty of times. You and I talked when you were at HB Plant. I came down and saw you at 7-on-7s, and all the way through your Syracuse career, we've stayed connected. What are you hoping for this show?
It's really up to the viewers, up to you. I'm here to talk about anything. There's nothing in particular that I'm scared to talk about. So whatever the people want, that's what I'm here for. And you're the professional, so you can kind of just guide me in the right direction, and I'll try to keep things somewhat on the target.
I don't know if it's the facial hair, but you look so much older. Like when I saw you at HB Plant, you were a baby, and then Judge was a baby of a baby. So what the last 4 or 5 years have done. What has it felt like for you? Because to me, you guys have been.
Well, I don't know. 2020 was a tough year for everybody, so probably added a little age. I'm probably gonna have some gray hairs coming in soon. But I guess it's just ages and stages. You grow up and deal with stress and get older.
And when we look at that, Rex, I've dealt with stress in a very unique way too. I had a little bit of a scare from my family this past week. Had to go through some tests and look at my heart. Everything was totally fine. But, kind of like a doctor tells you there's nothing to worry about, you're good. But, you went through your adversity and your stress with that. My family went through the trends of, like, what's going on with Dan? Why is he in the hospital? So, what can you say you learned from those moments? Because those are some come-to-Jesus moments that
Well, I would just say that I'm lucky to have the family that I have, to be able to lean on everyone, brother, sister, father, extended family. So my situation, I was very fortunate that there was people all around me the whole time. It was a group fight. I didn't feel alone. So my advice would definitely be to just lean on the ones that you can lean on. And, I hope that everyone has someone or a group of people that care and love them. I know some people don't. People obviously do not have the perfect family situation like I have. But if you can find a rock, or if you can be someone's rock, from the other side of it, if there's someone you care about that's going through something, maybe they're being a little distant, or you guys have been distant towards each other, just kind of know that it's the situation, when you're battling through really any type of adversity, you might be a little standoffish, because I know I kind of felt like I didn't want to burden my family. I didn't want people to see me in the state I was in, but ultimately they kind of said, Rex, be quiet and let us help you. And that ended up prevailing. So both sides of it, lean on the ones that you can lean on. And also, if you could be someone's rock for them, that's a time in their life where you'll be able to build a bond. That's something special that you can't just, it's almost like a bond between military members or a bond between football players. It's something that's incredibly strong and was forged in a unique situation.
Yeah, and for you, like you said, forged in a unique situation, let people help you. How hard was it? How long did it take you to not kind of fight the battle yourself and let people come in? Because like you said, there's a misconception that, you're angry, you're mad, or you don't care, when in actuality you're just trying to prevent people that you love from seeing you.
Right. I think there must be something in the human mind that makes us stubborn, because I don't know where that was stemming from, but it all came to an end I think I talked about in the last interview that we did when I had an allergic reaction. But I kind of came into chemotherapy with the attitude of, I'm not going to let this beat me. Like, chemotherapy, it's hard for other people, but for me, I'm going to get through it easy. And I didn't drop out of school. I stayed enrolled. I stayed in all my classes. I obviously told my teachers what was going on, but my whole plan was to still be working out, to just kind of have chemotherapy be going on as background noise. But once I had the allergic reaction, and a lot of the drugs had to get upped and switched and really just threw me out of whack, that's when I think later that day, I literally dropped, got extensions on all my classes, told my teachers, hey, I'm not going to be able to keep going to class. This is going to be my job now. I have to spend 8 hours a day in the hospital to really get through everything. So at that moment is really when I just opened up my arms and accepted help from everyone because I really needed it. And at that point, there wasn't really a choice. It wasn't like, oh, I can be stubborn and, crutch down the stairs myself. It was like, I can't even think straight. I can't take classes. I need help from my teachers. I need help from my family. I need help from my teammates. And so that was really when I just kind of opened up and gave in.
Who were some of the teammates that you really felt like stepped up the most to, carry your books, help you in class, pick you up, drop you off? Like, who were the people that really showed up for you?
Well, I mean, I had the best roommate situation with Kylan Whitner, Ryan Guthrie, and Eric Dungy. So those guys were all like monumental to helping me. And we had already had a great relationship just living together for that long. And then once I was, going through, they were there to help me with anything that I needed. Whit would come in at night and make sure I was still breathing when I was asleep. It just little things like that. But really my roommates, I really leaned on those guys, and they were almost like role models to me. They were older guys and they all started and they were kind of the core of the team and went 10-3. So it was special to kind of overcome my situation while also living in, I didn't get much playing time that year, but I was still a part of the whole special season that we had. And the guys that had helped me through chemo were the same guys that are making all the plays out there. So I definitely got to give a shout out to those guys.
What can you tell me about Ryan Guthrie? How would you describe him? What can you tell me about your relationship with him?
Ryan Guthrie is, I don't know any other way to say it. He's a straight running badass. I mean, you can have a beer with him. Seems like a cool, laid back guy. Likes to joke around. Likes rock music. But on the field, that kid can ball out. He'll run through a wall. He was actually one of my dad's favorite players. He's like, man, Ryan Guthrie, that kid, he reminds me of me. Like that, I can't speak highly enough about how he can really flip the switch. And it's just unfortunate that honestly, him and Eric didn't have another year, because I think that all three of them could have gotten to play in the NFL. It's just a tough situation. I mean, Ryan had gone from defensive line at 240 pounds and switching to linebacker, and I don't know if he led our team in tackles or maybe that was Whit, but I know he was up there, and I know he was up there in the ACC, all ACC selection. But he was deserving of all that.
Yeah, Guthrie was one of those guys that and Kylan, that got moved all over the place and eventually found that niche in the Camping World Bowl. I mean, they showed out. I actually said Ryan Guthrie, and I take nothing from Aaron Dungy because I respect him and got a lot of love for him. I thought Ryan Guthrie, if not for everything Dungy has been through in 4 years, his story, I had Guthrie as my player of the game at the Camping World Bowl. I think he deserved it. And Kylan, my Lord, they moved him to every position possibly could, and he said yes. And so I think, Kylan and Ryan, they both deserve a lot more credit than I think Syracuse fans, the country, really anybody else.
Kylan Whitner had it's amazing that he ended up starting in linebacker. I remember he came home the first day of camp and he was like, this is crazy. I'm fifth string. I'm behind people that have never even been here. I'm behind a convicted felon. I mean, it was ridiculous. And we all knew he could play. The players know who could play and who can't. So, I mean, I knew he would find a way to get on the field somehow. And then I think he was the one that actually led the team in tackles. But I mean, both those guys, all four of us, honestly, just had a wild ride with football. And I think that makes our relationship even deeper. I think Whit and Ryan are actually going to come visit me down in Florida. Whit has he's got kind of a business trip down here, and then I think Guthrie said, I'm going to come down. So hopefully this weekend they'll be able to come thaw out in sunny Florida. I know Eric's stuck up in Oregon. It's not quite as easy of a trip, but those guys are both from Georgia, so they can kind of buzz down here.
Yeah, and what is Kylan doing now that he's got a business trip to Florida? Good for him.
Oh, well, he works. He's a CPA at EY, but his grandpa owns a lot of car dealerships, and so there's a Ford dealership down here in Florida that his grandpa wants him to, I think, intern at and just kind of see the managerial role there. Because I think that later on in life, Whit would like to get involved with the car dealership. So I think he's coming down here to kind of look and see would I be able to live in Tampa or some type of situation like that. But we're going to make kind of a fun trip. I haven't seen those guys in a long time. Obviously, with quarantine last year, we weren't allowed to leave. We weren't allowed to have people over. I mean, I had to lie on all these papers and say that I didn't have roommates. I do have 3 roommates, but they don't leave the house. They were super worried about COVID. But it was actually a total pain in the butt. So those guys couldn't visit me. I don't think I've seen them in about probably over a year. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and you get that opportunity to bring the band back together. Have you reached out to Dungey and told him to get his butt down there for Ryan and Kyler?
Well, actually, I'm reaching out to him, telling him hurry up and finish rescheduling your wedding that he's going to end up having, because I'm ready to go have some fun, dance around, and meet the rest of his family, because he's got a great extended family. His mom and my mom are good friends, so definitely looking forward to that one. Probably cause some trouble at their wedding, just keep things interesting.
So going off of that, here with Tea with Rex, it's in the inaugural episode, myself, Andy Score, the team, and Rex, obviously Rex Culver, here with us every other Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. time, an extension of Wake Up Call. We'll be doing this show called Tea with Rex. Can be about literally anything. Rex, for you, inside of that living room with Ryan Guthrie, Tyler Miller, and Eric Denver, who was the funniest, who ate everybody's food, and who was the biggest prankster?
Oh, well, that's actually pretty easy. The biggest prankster, definitely Eric Dungey. There may or may not be some wall damage and some knockdown doors. They were there when we found them. I'll just put it to you that way. Nothing to do with it. No pranks. So I think that the funniest Ryan would probably say it was Whit and I arguing every single night about whatever. And he would always just kind of spectate and shake his head and laugh at us. Because we would debate everything from religion to politics. And we would just got to the point where we played devil's advocate. If an opinion was offered, one of us would just disagree, just to disagree and argue. So that would carry on. And then Ryan was definitely the one that he would eat. We had all kinds of running jokes. Ryan would get to-go boxes from our field house and eat them a week later, 2 weeks later. He would heat food and the whole place would smell like tuna. We would be like, dang, Ryan, what are you out here making? So I don't know if he would sometimes sneak in and steal our food, but Ryan always had the running joke of he would eat anything, had the iron stomach. The 2-week-old tuna sandwich, Ryan would eat it. We would bring home boxes from wherever we ate. And we're like, we'll just give it to Ryan. So that kind of goes along those lines of the food stealer.
So you never had to go out to throw anything into the trash compactor because Ryan got the treasure trap.
Oh, totally. He would eat it, mix it all together, and it'd be like feeding a dog.
I mean, I think the 2-week-old tuna sandwich, I just think about when you go to the vending machines and they would have the tuna sandwich in there for 1934 last week, but there was no date on it. He would eat that sandwich.
Well, also Whit and I, we would barbecue a lot, and of course Ryan would try our food and be like, "Oh, it's so good." It's like, well, that doesn't really mean anything because Ryan is good. Dude's got an iron stomach. I don't know how he does it, but.
Did he ever get sick?
No, Ryan never gets sick. He never got hurt, got sick. He's just kind of a dog. Both on the field.
So you can feed him anything, give him anything, he'll eat it. You what?
And then he'll run out on the field and have 3 sacks.
So were there moments where he had an egg salad, tuna, chocolate chip pancake the day of the game and then we're down every sack?
Yeah, and it would be from Wednesday of that week.
So, Dungey and you obviously same position. at the quarterback position coming in. What did you take away from Eric? I mean, you're resilient. You're a fighter. He is too. You guys have had different adversity, but you both responded to it head on. What can you say about it?
Actually, Eric became a better mentor for me when I was starting this year and had to deal with kind of the nature of the quarterback position, which is every single thing is kind of your fault and you get blamed. And, it's always a bad pass. It's always there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks, and it's tough. I mean, certain times you're giving the game everything you can, and it's not good enough for the fans, not good enough for the people, the coaches. So I would call me like, bro, I mean, I had no idea you were dealing with this much. It was especially tough with him, the quarterback situation with DeVito behind him, because not only was every pass that he threw scrutinized, but it was also compared with like people assuming that Tommy, or it didn't even have to be Tommy. It's just the fact that there was a younger quarterback who was up and coming who had had success. So it got to the point where every single pass was either okay or that was a bad pass. Tommy could have done better. So I mean, even we went 10-3, but the fans didn't really appreciate Eric until after. When he was gone. And so really this year I would talk to him and he would kind of just coach me through trying to tune out all the outside noise and to just put everything in perspective that, while you're in the game, while you're practicing or while you're living through the season, the biggest thing in your life is football. It's the most important thing. You have a bad game, it kind of ruins your life for that week. So he was very helpful with having a short memory and putting things in perspective. And all three of those guys really, because I would talk to them and be like, man, like, am I going to look back on this situation and have regrets for the rest of my life? And so, they were just, all three of them were there for me, because it's definitely an emotional game. It's definitely a trying time. And, we had a very tough season. Obviously, there was a pandemic going on, no fans. It was a totally different animal, and I was glad that those guys are all very savvy. And Eric had dealt with all kinds of criticism and hate, and he was very helpful to me, just keeping my mind in a good situation.
It's funny that you bring that up, that the fans appreciated Eric after the fact, because I told fans the entire year that was his last year, appreciate him when you got him, appreciate him when you got him. You're going to come crying to me when you don't have him. You're going to miss him when he's gone. You're going to hate him when he's not here. And I kept warning people on the show repeatedly, and go back and check the tape. Once I said, appreciate what you got when you have him. Because if you do it when he's gone, doesn't mean it. And sure enough, he finishes up. He's done. And what are the messages I get? We didn't appreciate him. We didn't listen to you. We didn't love him when we had him. He's on the mountain for us, heritage quarterback. What are we going to do without him? Can he get another year? So many people flooded in saying, I wish we would have appreciated Eric Dungy. I warned him at least a year in advance, but you played the quarterback position, and you just said it. They didn't love him when they had him. They loved him when they lost him.
Right. And Eric deserves a lot of credit. He's a heck of a player. He made a lot of plays on his own, but that team was something special. I mean, every position, our offensive line that year was amazing. I mean, those guys came together. Our defense, they came up with a ton of plays. There was something special about that team, something special about that brotherhood that we all shared. And I don't know, we lost so many seniors. The next year, it seemed like the team, like as a whole, just kind of got cocky, and we were like, "Oh, we just went 10-3. Like we're gonna be even better this year." We're doing all these video reality TV show type things over summer workouts. It's almost like we just, as a team, we didn't handle the success the right way, and we kind of lost sight of it. But that senior class, they were a special crew of guys, and they're helpful to me, and it was just a really special team.
So, I mean, you just kind of got into it. You felt that the team kind of lost focus. Did you ever get it back, or did the cockiness kind of feeling yourself, feeling like we got this, we're going to be better, we're 10-3, we have to win next 2 now? Did that last all season? Did it hit at a certain point? What happened?
It honestly got worse as the season went. because we had gotten used to dealing with success, and we somewhat imploded that year. The adversity made it even more frustrating, and I think that even led into this. Well, the COVID year was just tough as a whole situation. We lost our offensive coordinator, lost our defensive coordinator. We're learning new offense and defense over Zoom calls. So we were behind no matter what the situation was with no spring ball. But that year, after the 10-3 season, all of a sudden we lose a bad game to Maryland, and the team started fighting against each other. Everyone had their own idea, their own solution of what was going wrong. The players versus the coaches started to become a thing. Everyone had their own opinions, and it just kind of got out of control. We have a lot of big personalities, and that's kind of the way a lot of football teams are. You get these hotshot recruits and guys who can really play, and they want to be on the field. They want to have the ball every single play. Obviously, you want a receiver that thinks they're always open, but sometimes those guys aren't really open, or whoever it is. And I think that the leaders on the team didn't do a good enough job kind of corralling everyone back together and playing for each other, whereas the year before there was that kind of unspoken brotherhood. It definitely, I would say the whole shift went from being team to being me to being I that second year. What do I have to do to go to the NFL? What do I have to do? If I catch this many balls, I'm going to be this round draft pick, whereas the year before it was like, we hate all these teams that have beat up on us year after year. We want to go out there and beat them and, screw Clemson, screw Florida State. Like, we're going to go out there, we're going to play them, we're going to beat them. Like, this is our year. Whereas the next year was like, oh, we just had this 10-3 year. I'm going to the NFL. I only need to do this. I could probably play 3-4 games, and then that's enough for me. And we weren't able to kind of corral it and bring the guys together and fight and play for what really matters, which is winning.
So, you feel like essentially Syracuse's arguably best season in 2 decades was met right after you beat mostly everybody. You beat yourself. You feel like Syracuse was just beating the hell out of themselves, maybe?
Totally. There was a total shift of getting comfortable and not working as hard, not being as detail oriented because we were 10-3. We were good. We're top 25 going into the season. We didn't have to prove ourselves anymore. We were there. We just had to kind of maintain. But I guess, obviously I wasn't on a championship team, but I guess the championship mindset is that you can just never get comfortable. And that's kind of the pride always cometh before the fall type situation where we got prideful. We brought in more attention. They came out and said that we were only going to win, I think they said 4 or 5 games, and we were like, this is garbage. We're underrated. It was kind of the perfect storm to lead to a letdown of the season.
So this past season, did any leadership come up in 2020? Was it still coaches versus players, players versus players? Was there any type of return toward positive despite wanting to end? Did you see silver linings, or did it still feel like it was going the other way?
I don't think there was as much silver lining. What made the season difficult was that players could, opt out, and so when someone would get an injury, they would start thinking, man, I could just opt out and I got a free year next year. So that kind of brewed a whole even more selfish situation where guys were kind of just worried about themselves, which is understandable because back when the season was starting, it seemed like there was so much uncertainty with COVID and, people were worried. We were seeing about the heart issues that athletes were having. There was so much uncertainty, so you can't really blame anyone for having their own self-interest in mind, but it made a situation where it was even harder to play for a team. And our biggest leader, Andre Sisco, obviously had a season-ending injury. And he was one of the most influential guys on the team. He actually brought us together. We had a slew of player-led meetings, and he was the go-to guy bringing us together. We lost a lot of guys on defense. Trill Williams, was going through injuries, and he's the kind of guy where, and I can't blame him. You have the NFL on your mind, and, there's injuries coming in and out, and you can opt out of this season. So who's going to blame him? I mean, you grew up your whole life wanting to play in the NFL, and the situation's there. Do you really want to lay your body on the line for a season that doesn't technically count? So it made the situation even more frustrating. And I would say that the players, the leaders have their work cut out for them this year to kind of rebuild the underbelly of the team, rebuild the mindset of the team, and get everyone back on board.
Is there a quarterback, having played the position, having seen what Dungy did, is there a quarterback in the room right now at Syracuse that you believe can be a leader? Because by default, typically the quarterback is one of, if not the leader of the team.
Right. Well, Tommy's always been a leader, and the guys respect Tommy. I think that he's fully capable of leading the team in the right direction, but it takes more than just one person. It takes more than just one position group. Guys have to kind of stop tending to themselves and have to breed the winning attitude back. I mean, there's still a strong senior class there. I mean, guys like Josh Black, guys like Aaron Service that are still going to be very influential. But, again, both those guys are NFL caliber players. So at the end of the day, that voice in the back of your head is telling you, okay, well, you got to look out for yourself. It's kind of a delicate balance again. And maybe that's something that the players can do. Maybe that's something that the coaches can do. It's just an interesting little, like I said, interesting situation where, you have your own interests and then you have to put the team interests in front of yours, and it's kind of hard to read through.
Before we finish up this inaugural episode of T with Rex and extension of WakeUpCall, Virginia Sports Players, every other Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. starting here on the show on Facebook.com/LNLT. Rex, for you to look at the athletics and journey during camp, you're fresh in camp and they say, we're not going to do it. You talked about Cisco and children during the season. What was the atmosphere like? Because we never really got to see it or understand it. We weren't there for practice. So what happened with Darby on the duel? How did you find out? What was it like?
Right. Both of those guys are great players. I can't wait to see them this year, having a whole year of working out. But so there was a lot of things going on. So on one hand, guys have, guys are worried about their health, and they know that, I don't want to go out there without being fully in shape. So, like, to put it in perspective, like Cooper Dawson opted out. He actually got COVID, and he had to quarantine for 2 weeks. Then he got COVID, so then he was out another 2 weeks. And then by the time he got back, he had missed a whole month of a already shortened workout session. So he was going to go into camp having very limited time to get in shape. Because, it's easy to say, oh, you should have been working out during quarantine, but we didn't know, when you have COVID, are you supposed to get your heart rate up? It was so new. So both of those guys had to quarantine. And I don't want to get into details about other people's medical situations, but essentially both of them were concerned that I don't think I'm going to be in good enough shape this year to go out there and play well. I don't really want to risk my body. They both play running back, which is a very physical position. I'm not sure if I want to go out there on the field and risk injury for a season that I was unable to get prepared for because I was quarantining for so long, which to me is totally understandable. It's hard to blame someone for, football is a very violent game. It takes a lot out of you, and not being in peak physical shape is. I was fortunate enough. Personally, where I never had to quarantine, I got to work out the entire time, so I felt good. But I totally could relate to those guys that were worried about putting bad film on the field or risking injury.
Yeah, and it brought us through a very intense and strange year. This was your last year. Did you think at all about coming back? What went through your mind knowing that your final season at Syracuse was a pandemic, strange, very chaotic?
It was kind of sad at first for me to think about, senior night with no fans. But at the end of the day, life goes on, and football comes to an end for everyone. It feels special when you're in it, but again, thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands of people have been Syracuse football players before me. and more will be after me. And as much as you want it to be the special year, you want to run out and feel like the fans, like, oh, they really love me, they really care. Like, at the end of the day, life goes on, and I'm 23 years old. I'm going to turn 24. I felt like it was time for me to move on and get myself in a situation where I could try to have a family, get my law degree, get on a career path that's going to be fruitful, and just kind of get my life going and set things up. So when I put it in perspective, I wasn't as bummed out, but definitely there was a couple of days where I was man, it's really over, and no one really got to see it. But again, we went 1-10, so no one got to see in person. I don't know if that's better or worse, but just a crazy situation.
Last piece here for T with Rex today on the WakeUpCall show. That walk, I took a video of it from the press box. Bring me into that senior walk that Aaron Service, Josh Black, guys, there's a few guys that came out that just took that walk route. Am I staying? Am I going? Bring me into that walk where you went around the entire dome and normally you clap hands, or fans sign autographs. This time around, it was a very quiet, silent moment. Bring me into it.
So that, like you said, that's a tradition that the seniors do after the senior day game, which everyone will walk around the field and kind of high five and take it in one last time. That one was extremely emotional for me because that game was very frustrating. I actually graded out very high except for a couple plays, one of them being that I spiked the ball on 4th down, and we had this game-winning drive coming, so I was extremely upset because I had just come back from I sprained my MCL, so that was kind of my first game back, and leading everyone down the field and getting so close to that first win as a starter, and the situation where I spiked on 4th down, I was very upset about that, walking around the field with those guys and just kind of looking back on how much we've been through and how disappointing and emotional and upsetting the season had been. Because those guys, we've been working for a long time for that, and that was kind of the reward that we got, and it wasn't what any of us wanted. We had high hopes going into the season, and we just kind of walked around and we were in shock. I remember talking to Josh Black and Aaron, like, man, like, how did this happen? Like, where did we go wrong? Why are we in this situation? And I was definitely more emotional because we hadn't had the success that comes with the hard work that kind of keeps you going. You work hard and you think this is going to be worth it. We're going to win, and then you don't win, and all of a sudden you're walking around the field on a team that's had 6 losses in a row, 5 losses in a row, and you're just crushed. And we all felt the same way. We all felt crushed, and we were probably the only people that had empathy and knew how each other felt. So there was something unique about that walk. Last game in the Dome, looking at it empty, looking at it feeling kind of lonely. But you're right, it was a very emotional walk.
What happened? Bring me into the drive. You're the only person who can talk about it because you were on the phone. So what happened on the drive?
So for a lot of things actually happened on that drive. So it all started there's a pass that Taj caught on the sideline where he barely got his toe in bounds. It was kind of I threw it to the right side. It wasn't quite on target. Taj made an amazing catch and got his toe in bounds, but they called him out of bounds at first. So I go over to the sideline, and I was not supposed to throw it to him. That was an ad lib that I did, and the coaches are ripping me. They're like, "What are you doing? You just called the game." So that's going on. Then all of a sudden they review it, and he was in. So they're like, "Oh wait, you're good. Whatever, go back out there." So we go back out. We drive him down some more. We're calling plays that we had drawn up in the sand, and then on that 4th down where I quarterback sneaked it, that wasn't a play either. I ad-libbed that, so I was kind of in trouble for that. Got the 1st down, thankfully, and I probably would have never played again. So all this is going on, and I've never been in a live situation 2-minute drill before. You practice it, but again, it's just not the same. Everyone's very stressed out. Everyone's high strung. 3 coaches are calling plays. Like, this situation is almost dire. So we get down to the end there, and the play where I was scrambling around, I lost track of how much time was on the clock. The play, when we played it back on film, I think I could have fit a ball in and maybe throw a touchdown, but I kind of panicked. I'd never been in that situation before. Started running around trying to make something happen. And I got sacked, which was like the thing not to do. I mean, obviously, I wish I could go back and change the results, but I can't. So I got sacked, and I looked to the sideline, and the entire sideline. I mean, none of us have been in that type of situation. I see everyone, coaches, players, all going spike the ball, spike the ball. So I look over, my eyes like saucers. I'm trying to find my coach. Everyone's dressed the same. 3 guys are signaling. You got guys signaling to these receivers, guys signaling to these receivers, and I was just panicking, and I knew I needed to stop the clock. So I ran up and spiked it, not looking at the down, nothing, just seeing the panic on the sideline and people going like spike. And then, as soon as I did it, I looked up and I realized, oh my gosh, the game's over. That's it. So, I was totally crushed. I went over and sat on the bench. I was very emotional, very upset. And then, of course, they had to review it, too, to make sure that there was .01 left on the clock so that NC State could go out and run another play, as if to rub it in even more. That just kind of made me upset even more. So then I went and sat on the bench and let everything clear, and that's when the walk kind of took place after just everyone's hopes had gotten up. It was almost magical that Taj caught that ball, and we were wheeling and dealing, getting on the field just to get let down, which it was tough for me. It was tough for every single person on the team. It was tough for the coaches, which made that walk even that much more emotional.
So you were seeing on the sideline that there were people telling you to spike.
Right, jumping up and down.
So, I mean, and that's the thing that I think, like you said, Eric talking about like this season, that people don't understand when you're a quarterback, Monday morning quarterback, and make all the assumptions they want to make, and all the judgment calls because they're watching that film. But there was the first 5-minute drill against another team, and you got people telling you to spike it. Everything's going on. You just got sacked. You realize you couldn't do that. I don't think people take into reality that it's not over.
Right.
And there's a lot of emotion that goes into that, and that you weren't the only person that kind of lost track of down.
Right. No, not at all. And we honestly weren't prepared enough. The players weren't prepared enough. The coaches, I know that they spend a ton of time preparing, and I think that they thought that we were more prepared than we were. They thought us players were more prepared than we were, which, maybe that's an oversight by them. I think there's a lot of people to blame. Obviously, I'm going to shoulder the most of it because I'm the one that actually did the action. But it's definitely different out there. I mean, you got 11 guys on that other team that are, as soon as you snap the ball, every single person is looking at you, and every single person is cueing the quarterback. So, it's a lot to take in, knowing where 21 other guys are, and it's easy for someone on the couch to say, oh my gosh, this guy's, why didn't he look on the screen and see that it said 4th down? It's like, there's 5 screens up there. The scoreboard was, at one point, it was playing the out of town, so the scoreboard was showing scores from other games. I look up and I'm like, Boston College and Florida, all these other teams are playing, and there's a million numbers up there, and every second I feel like I'm wasting. Oh my gosh, where is ours? I can't even find it. I just go down snapping the ball. We don't even have a play called. It was kind of pandemonium. And so people can say, obviously, like you said, be a Monday morning quarterback and say, how do you not know? But once you're down there, the emotions are flying. It's a different ball game.
Coming here from Rex Culpepper. Rex, as always, on WakeUpCall, and fairness and its extension to you and Rex, and throw it to the other side. So, a trio of questions. You can ask me whatever you want to ask me. I'm going to open it in here, let you run it for a second. So, think. Go ahead.
All right. So how long have you been following Syracuse athletics?
Since I was a baby, and then like broadcast designer wise, the whole 17 plus years I've been a professional broadcaster, longer than that, growing up as a kid. So the majority of my life.
Okay. So do you remember when University of Florida came up to play Syracuse in what would have been, I think, the late 80s and the early 90s? Do you remember that game?
I do not remember, like, I remember the Nebraska one was fierce before I was born, but I know that one. I know the Super Bowl conversion against West Virginia, but I'm not familiar with the Florida one. If I went back and watched it, probably, I probably know what you guys think.
No, I just asked because my dad, he played on a Florida team where they had just beaten Alabama and they were like number 1 or number 2 in the nation, and they came to play Syracuse for Syracuse homecoming. And he said they were driving down like past all the frats and looking out the windows like, these guys really think they're gonna beat us? Like, are you kidding me? And he said he went in the dome. It was the loudest place he'd ever heard, and they were running trick plays, and they kind of expected it to be a gimme, and it was a huge upset where Florida won. But he kept talking about how loud it was in the dome. So I was going to ask you, what do you think the loudest the dome has ever been? If there's a certain game or certain situation that you remember where there's been just a total madhouse, loud dome experience.
I would say it was the year that my dad and I used to go to the games all the time. My dad's still here, just has gone to as many games lately. And so we went to a game, I can't remember the exact year, but we went to a Syracuse-Pittsburgh game, which people forget, to me, is a huge rivalry. I mean, it's 4 hours away, 4 or 5 hours away. And we played Pittsburgh, and we would, and Syracuse would either play Pittsburgh at like 14-13, or a game that was like 70-60. It was always close, whether it was a lot of points or little points. They were always a pain in the butt, and it always like got you really emotional. And there was one game that I'll never forget. My dad and I were sitting behind one of the goalposts, and he was talking to me, and sitting right next to me, I couldn't hear him. It was so loud that my dad's looking at me on here like, I'm like, what are you saying? And every time we go into the dome, I'm like praying and asking kids to give me that moment where I can't hear myself think, because that happened when I was a teenager, and I haven't experienced that since then. I'm not going to say it's the LSU game, because that was the LSU fans. But the actual dome with Syracuse and Pittsburgh, God, you wanted to go to those games growing up as a kid, because you can feel it in the air. You can like tangibly like pull the air off your shoulders, and it was so in your face.
Right. All right, last question. So there's a uniform combo that the boosters and the kind of make it happeners don't like, but the players do like. It is the blue on blue on blue, everything blue. So the players are a fan. I know some of the equipment guys think it looks good. I was wondering what you thought, because the boosters, they did not like it. They said, Syracuse, only the Syracuse blue. And so you've been around a long time. You've seen old uniforms, new uniforms. I was wondering if you had a favorite combo, or if you were a fan or weren't a fan of the all blue.
I have no qualms with the blue. I actually like the grays. I like when we had gray ones, and I like the stripes and whatnot, and how everything was like at 44-degree angles. It was like all in numbers and 44, and the 4 drum logo on it. So I miss those. I think we did those like crazy looking jerseys for a really short amount. They disappeared. So I like the way the gray looked with the blue. I have no problem with blue on blue on blue, because if y'all like it, y'all are playing with it. So if you feel good in the dress, then I'd rather you feel good, because who cares what we think? You guys are fun. But I like the orange out. I like the orange. But Syracuse played it, and I don't know if they like put the jersey in the office or something, but it was faded orange, and it was kind of like Tennessee looking orange, and they put them on, and they marked all over it, and they got killed. So I love orange on orange, but it's got to have that vibrant, real orange threads. But I would wear orange out, but there's no problem with it. I'm cool with it.
Gotcha.
So they're coming from Rex, Tea with Rex every other Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, extension of Wake Up Call, exclusively here with you with Tea and Rex. And you'll find us every other Tuesday on Facebook.com/LiveMTP, which means that our next broadcast will be on March 23rd. Rex, I appreciate it. You're my second home in Florida. Take care of that sun for me. And thank you for everything. I look forward to talking to you.
Yes, sir. It was my pleasure.
All right, talk to you.
See ya.